What's up, YouTube and Unreal developers? This is the walkthrough for my Tower Defense 3D Fusion framework. So in this video, first I'm just going to show you just an overview of the game, or the project, and how everything works. And then we're going to go through the documentation actually together, and I'll show you how to do the critical tasks here. So there's some good documentation for the really critical tasks: adding a new enemy type, a new map, new tower type, a couple other things. So we're going to go through all this together. It's actually fairly simple for the most part. So first off, let's just take a look at the game. So this project includes my Settings Menu Widget tool. So that's going to allow you to set some user-defined colors here if you want to. Aside from that, you can also use these sound classes. So any sound files you add, you can just set the sound class on those, and they should be able to adjust the volume with these. If you need more information on that, you can see the documentation for the EZ Settings Menu Widget. And you can also set the graphics in here, so this is quite helpful as well. You can actually see the difference a little bit there. And this is just for your own settings. Alright, so I've got two sample maps made already. We're going to make a third one here in a little bit, but first let's just take a look at this one. Alright, so by holding down the right mouse button, I can rotate the camera, and with WASD I can move. Clicking, of course, will give me the ability to spawn some tower, or to interact with the UI, and then left shift plus click will add some towers here to the world anywhere where it's valid. So you can't place them on top of each other, you can't place them just in the middle of the air, it has to go into an object in the world. Alright, so as you can see here, this is going to automatically populate with the tower's display name, its cost, and its description. And if you click on one of the towers, then you can use these upgrade buttons here. On your towers you can decide how many upgrades you want to use, and of course you can add more buttons if you want. Currently there's 3 available, and it will hide these appropriately based on how many you decided to use. So here's the slow tower as well. And you can sell these back for their original cost. Last but not least, we have this hero mode, which is what makes this the Tower Defense 3D Fusion. So your what kind of abilities and stuff to give this guy, that's up to you. That's why this is a framework and not a template. But just by default, he can shoot the same bullets as the towers. And you can press Y to exit this mode. There's no indicator for that. That's also kind of up to you how you want to implement that. And of course you can also set your gameplay options in here. Alright, so let's start by adding a new map, because that's probably the quickest and easiest thing to do. So I'm going to go into my sample levels here, and you could of course use a brand new level if you want, and there's kind of some guidance on how you can do that if you choose to. This is just going to be temporary. It's not going to be in the final actual version of this project, but I'm just going to show you kind of what you can do here. Alright, so just to make sure this is easy to discern from a different one. Alright, so really you could just have probably 2 path points here. I don't know why I put in a third one looking back at this actually. But you can see here the only critical elements you really have to have is a path. And to explain these paths a little bit, you want to check this is base for any path you're actually placing in the world. But by default that is actually false for a good reason. So don't change that. But just make sure this is a base whenever you place one in the world. And you can set how many layers to use. So this is going to place additional layers of paths whenever the game begins, going to the positive Y, or sorry, not the positive Y, but to the right of the direction between each point. So from here to here, like it's gonna spawn a point right here, and here it's gonna be like point, and then they're all just gonna kind of converge at the end if I recall correctly. So you can set how much of an offset you want to use, and to move these points, you just click on these little diamonds. Alright, so we've got our new level here, and if you were making a new level from scratch, or if you're just duplicating a level and you're adjusting the path even, you need to make sure to adjust this nav mesh bounds volume, and of course where you want to start out the player at. Yeah, other than that, everything is more or less plug and play. Then you're just going to come over here into the level blueprint, and this is all you actually need in here. So you're going to cast the game mode and set the spawn info and start the game. So what is the spawn info? Alright, so you can see here each round info in this spawn info is it's got a round, so what round to actually use this information for, and then you can set a number of different enemies to spawn on that round. So you can see there's 2 elements in this round info for round 1, so it's going to spawn some foot soldiers and it's going to spawn some of the tanks. But then on round 3 it's going to spawn substantially more of both those things, and then by round 6 it's spawning 30 of those, and in between all these rounds it's going to increment the number of each of these spawns in here. So to clarify, if I were to say go into this second one here and say I want to spawn 1 of each of these, then if I were to only spawn 1 of each of these, then on round 4 it would spawn 2 of each, and then on round 5 it would spawn 3 of each, and then on round 6 then it's going to go into this, and then it would spawn 31 and 10. So that's how the spawn info works. So whenever you make a new map, here's how you can set that, or you can of course just set that default on the actual TD game mode. So yeah, now that this map is made, we just need an entry point. So if you go over to UI, here's the map selection, and I'm just going to copy one of these into this horizontal box, and bada boom, now we've got this, and I'm not going to worry about the colors or the appearance or anything. These are bound to the settings game instance secondary color, but I'm not going to worry about setting that right now. I am going to just change this to prevent any confusion, so we'll just say that's going to be nothing at all. And these are all 256 by 256, so whenever you are making your images, if you're resizing them, make them 256 by 256. So let's take a look at the YouTube. So all you actually need to do here, go ahead and you're just gonna open level. Whoops. I need to go back to the menu level. Alright, so now you can see we're on the new level. So, that is all there is to it. That is all there is to adding a new map. Alright, so, next up, adding a new enemy type. This one's also pretty quick and easy. So, first off, we are going to go into our enemy types here, and you can create a child class of the enemy base class here if you want to, or you can duplicate one of these template classes. So we're going to say this is the enemy YouTube. Alright, so we're going to make YouTube real small. I guess I could have locked that, whatever, it's fine. Alright, so YouTube is real small and has 1,000 or 10,000 health. YouTube is indestructible, but if you can destroy YouTube, you'll get all of the points. But YouTube does not move fast. Alright, so that should make it easy enough to tell them apart at least. So that should be all I need to do as far as actually making a new enemy type. But of course, for any custom functionality you want, you can put that in here, just however you want to in your blueprint, of course. Alright, so next up, we're going to add this to the enemy types, and then we're going to go into the BP TD game mode, and we're going to add the function for that. So, in data here, we're going to add YouTube to our enum here. Save that. And then in the game mode, you can see there is start spawning enemies, and you can pretty much just copy the pattern you see here. So I'm just going to copy all of this, and then from this output pin here on the switch, plug that in. Alright, let's spawn YouTube, and then we're going to duplicate one of these other spawning functions, and we're just going to spawn YouTube. Alright, great, we're spawning YouTube. So in here there's this comparison, change that to YouTube, and then here's our spawning function. Let's make this YouTube. And as you can see here, for some reason kill value didn't update. Everything else updated. So yeah, just be aware to pay attention to that. Alright, so that should be it as far as actually setting everything up. Now we just need to go back into our level blueprint and add that to the spawn info. Whoops, wrong level blueprint. Alright, this level blueprint. And we're going to go back to our spawn info here. And I'm just going to add an element to this. This is going to be our YouTube. We're going to make him come in 5 seconds after this starts. And we're just going to spawn one of them. Let's see if this works. Hopefully it does. Alright, YouTube should move really slow and be really small, right? YouTube is there. Great. That's it. We have a new enemy type. So, that's 2 sections of this down. Now for the slightly more challenging one, we're going to add a new tower type. Alright, so first off, we're going to go and once again, we're going to subclass the BP tower base or duplicate one of the samples. I'll probably duplicate one of the samples just for making this a little bit simpler. Set any of the defaults, put any custom functionality in there, add it to the enum, and then there's a few places you need to change some things. So, not too bad, but this is the most complicated one of the lot, I will tell you that. There we go. Okay. So, let's go ahead and just put that back. And we'll just say this is YouTube tower. Make this anything else, just so it's clear. And alright, so we got this print statement whenever anything passes through that range on here, which you can see that's just it's right here. Whoops. So that should print that. Now let's go ahead and add this to the enum. And let's see what's next. Okay, so in the pawn, we need to go to the spawn tower if possible. Player character blueprints, BPTD pawn, and we're already in there, but if you needed to get there, it's right here. So you're actually just going to duplicate one of these functions here. We're going to make this spawn YouTube tower if it has enough money. Plug that in here. Make sure to connect everything. Once everything's connected, we're just going to get the class defaults from that instead. BP YouTube tower, and for whatever reason it seems to always lose this pin, so you'll want to re-expose that pin. And then you're going to change the actor here. Okay, and I think that's it for the pawn. We've already changed that. Now next up we need to go into the HUD, and there's a couple things that we'll need to change in there. So we're going to add a button, and then we just have to add the click event for that. And there's a couple bindings we need to adjust. So first up, let's just copy on this. So you could of course, put this in here however you want, but I'm just going to keep this really simple. So this is the YouTube tower overlay, and I'm not going to go through the hassle of renaming the rest of these right now, but you get the idea. YouTube tower. Okay, so when the YouTube tower button gets pressed, we need to bring this up here. This is in the bottom center grouping buttons, and we're going to set the selected tower for placement. That's the YouTube sample or tower sample. Let's see, that should be good. Alright, and then this is the most critical function you absolutely have to update for this. You can see this, the enum right here, and we're just going to use this to get all of the class defaults. The reason this is important is because this is actually going to get the child class defaults. I was having a hard time figuring out how to pass that into a function properly, so that's unfortunately why we're kind of stuck with this. But it works well enough. And once again, I do need to re-expose these. And we don't need either of these for this. Okay, and YouTube tower is going to have one upgrade. So, what can we upgrade about this? We'll say num of YouTubes. Starts out as 1. just say, we'll just append this to the end here. Just keep this kind of simple. So first it's going to say Woot Woot YouTube 1, then we'll upgrade it, and it'll say Woot Woot YouTube 2. Super exciting, but it works. Alright, so now that we've got that in there, so we're only using one upgrade, so we don't need to worry about any of these right here. All we actually have to worry about is the first one right here. So you can see I kind of just chain off of each cast failure. So I'm just going to duplicate that. So in other words, if it fails to be either my samples, the range, or the slowing, then it's going to check, is it your new one? So I need to cast to YouTube tower. Alright, so it's going to cast to YouTube tower, and then we're going to say get that num, I didn't mean to type that there, num YouTubes. So you can see I've got this formatting here, YouTubes. So that's going to update the text for the stat. And then we need to just go in here and upgrade the cost for it as well. Actually, sorry, no, that's you don't have to worry about the cost. You just need to upgrade the actual stat info. So other than that, we need to update what happens on the actual clicking of the upgrade button, because that has to be completely custom. There's no way around that, really, of course. So now we are going to, so let's just go ahead and copy and paste this whole thing. And if this cast fails, if it's not the slowing tower, then we can cast it to that other tower. Alright, so let's just change these pins out here. And let's see. Need to put this into the object here. Okay, so we can use that one, but we can't use this one because it doesn't actually have that slow multiple. So we're going to get the num YouTubes, and we're going to add 1 to that. Alright. Whoops. So then we're going to set the num of YouTubes to +1. And all the costs and all that, this should just work naturally based on the defaults that you set in that class. Alright, let's see if I missed anything. Nope, I think that was it. Let's give it a shot. So let's go to the YouTube. And actually, So let's change the cost of the YouTube tower so I can place it a little bit easier. So this is in the class defaults. And we're going to say YouTube tower is really cheap. It only costs 5. Alright, so there's a YouTube tower. Now let's see what happens when an enemy comes around. Woot woot, woot 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 woot. Yeah, Willis gets it. Okay, and we can also adjust that cost right there, so that'll be cheap. We'll just say that costs 10 to upgrade. And one thing I noticed, I forgot to set the image for this on everything else. So the buttons, of course, have multiple states, so you want to set the image for each state. That's why that's happening. And one thing I should also mention, you can go up there and set the camera speed, so you can move around a little bit faster or slower. Alright, so currently we got 1 woot, and won't get any more woots until all these guys are gone, because they've already all passed through it. Okay, actually it's going to take forever to get a woot because of that guy, so let's just go ahead and... Oh yeah, sorry, one more thing I forgot to say here. This is the display name for it. And it does woots. Let's just try this one more time. I'll just go ahead and upgrade it a little bit quicker so that you can see this. Alright, so I upgraded the YouTubes. Ooh, look at that, the YouTubes is upgraded. Alright, so that's how you make a new tower. Pretty much as simple as that. Not too hard, but as I said, it is the most complicated of all the tasks you can do here. A couple other things of note. The player, like the damage to the actual player, whenever an enemy gets to the end, that happens in the Bluetooth task locomotion, which is in the AI folder of the enemy character blueprints folder. So if you need to do anything with that, that's where you can find that. It's just kind of an important thing. It's probably a little bit obscure as to how to find that. So there's that, and then if you have any issues, double check your project settings, make sure everything gets set from the config there correctly, your maps and your modes, all that good stuff. Also double check that all the input actions and access mappings from the player character and from the hero character are both available in the input. If they're not, it's easy enough to put back in there, so have faith in there, but I think that should all just work pretty much plug and play. If you have any issues, please do let me know, and I appreciate you watching and for your purchase. Have a great day.